75 rockets, 1 sea trial, 0 enemy ships, and enough mashed potato to feed a wedding reception. Welcome to the bunker. I'm Professor Von Blunder, and today we're examining one of the Royal Navy's most catastrophic field tests in World War II. The Harvey Projector was supposed to revolutionize naval warfare with its cutting-edge proximity fuse technology. Instead, it turned a British warship into a vegetable crime scene, hurled timber through a lifeboat, and got 2 officers literally thrown off the ship and dumped on a beach. This is the true story of how Britain's finest military minds took 75 experimental rockets, a captain who hated science, and a lazarette full of potatoes, and somehow managed to create a disaster so spectacular that it involved 0 enemy contact but maximum humiliation. The weapon was real. The technology was revolutionary. The chaos was completely preventable, and Private Timmy is already regretting volunteering for today's demonstration. Let's talk about the Harvey Projector and the sea trial that went catastrophically hilariously wrong. Our story begins aboard the HMS Allegheny in 1943, where 2 officers, Cook and Horsley, have been assigned to install and test a brand new secret weapon, the Harvey Projector. This wasn't just any rocket launcher. It was fitted with an experimental proximity fuse, a device so advanced it could detect changes in light and detonate automatically when a shadow fell across its lens. Think of it like the light sensor on your smartphone, except instead of adjusting screen brightness, it triggers high explosives. In military engineering terms, that means they strapped a selenium cell, a radio transmitter, and a battery-powered electronic trigger into the nose of a rocket and hoped it wouldn't explode prematurely. The catch? No one had figured out how to render the fuse safe once it was armed. There was no off switch, no safety mechanism, no way of knowing when the thing had started functioning. It was essentially a live bomb with a mind of its own. Now, what would you do if you had to install 75 of these unstable fuses on a ship captained by a man who already hates you? Because that's exactly the situation Cook and Horsley found themselves in. The captain, a reserve officer who despised newfangled scientific devices on principle, had already heard reports of their alleged incompetence. His greeting was brief and brutal. "We're leaving harbor at 0800 tomorrow. I'm not wasting any time on these stunt weapons of yours. Fuse these rounds and get off my ship. Understand?" Cook and Horsley understood perfectly. They were about to have what they diplomatically called an interesting day. Timmy, on the other hand, is already sweating. The next morning, the Allegheny steamed 15 miles up the coast of Northern Ireland. The captain, in an even worse mood than the previous day, cleared everyone off the upper deck. Cook and Horsley worked in splendid isolation, fitting all 75 proximity fuses without a break. Then came the moment of truth. The test firing. They positioned themselves at the Harvey Projector on the poop deck. Horsley scratched his head. It's supposed to go off when a shadow falls across the lens. Why not try it out on that cloud over there? Brilliant. They were going to shoot a cloud. Cook elevated the projector. They counted 1, 2, 3. He flicked the switch. The rocket left the rails with a rush and a roar, and in the distance, they saw a white puff of smoke. Success. The proximity fuse worked. They were still congratulating themselves when a bellow of rage erupted from the bridge. "What the hell do you 2 damned young fools think you're up to? Look at my ship." They turned. The entire vessel, the bridge, the mast, the funnels, everything was smothered in mashed potato. In their excitement over the fuse, they had completely forgotten about the Harvey's terrific flame blast. Behind the projector was a lazarette, a latticed locker full of vegetables. The blast had swept through it, pulverizing the contents and distributing mashed potato impartially across the entire upper deck. In naval engineering terms, that means they turned a storage locker full of potatoes into an artillery-grade smoothie and redecorated the ship with it. Back here in the bunker, I asked Timmy to stand behind a vegetable crate for a demonstration. He is now covered head to toe in pureed carrot. Moving on. Dejected but determined, Cook and Horsley prepared to test the second projector mounted amidships on the port side. This firing did not improve their popularity. The flame blast hurled a huge timber balk right across the deck and clean through one of the lifeboats. Test 1, Potato Apocalypse. Test 2, Structural Damage. The captain was, understandably, not thrilled. But it wasn't until they tried the third and final projector that disaster truly struck. Cook pressed the firing switch. Nothing. The rocket sat there, inert on the rails. A hang fire. This was the nightmare scenario they had dreaded all along. The fuse was live, the mechanism was active, and no one in the entire Royal Navy knew how to disarm it. At any second, the shell could explode, killing everyone nearby and shredding the deck. While they stood frozen, wondering what to do, a cheerful voice boomed, "Can I give you a hand, sir?" An enormous chief gunner's mate appeared, radiating confidence. "We've got a hang fire," said Cook. "You don't want to go worrying about that, sir," the chief replied with massive assurance. "I'm a bit of an expert on hang fires. Had 2 of them in the Nelson. If she hasn't gone off 30 minutes from now, we'll pitch her over the side." And that's exactly what they did. They waited, they sweated, and then they threw a live experimental rocket into the Irish Sea. The captain had officially had enough. He ordered a boat lowered and roared, "Put those 2 officers ashore." Cook and Horsley were unceremoniously dumped on the nearest beach and left to make their own way back to Belfast. In tactical terms, that means the officers were fired faster than the rocket. Timmy is still picking potato out of his ears. And that brings us to the stupidity meter. Let's rate this disaster out of 10, shall we? Money wasted? 75 experimental proximity fuses, a multi-year research program, and 1 very angry captain. I'm giving that a solid 8. Enemies killed? Absolutely 0. Not a single German ship was harmed in the making of this catastrophe. The only casualties were potatoes, 1 lifeboat, and the dignity of 2 officers. That's a 0. Collateral damage to Timmy, coated in mashed vegetables, nearly brained by flying timber, and traumatized by the hang fire experience. I'd say that's a 9. Overall stupidity score, 9 out of 10. The Harvey Projector had revolutionary technology, spectacular firepower, and absolutely no consideration for what was behind it when it fired. A perfect example of how you can be technically brilliant and operationally catastrophic at the same time. So here's my question for you. If you had 75 unstable rockets and a captain who already hated you, what would you do? Let me know in the comments. And someone please hose Timmy off. He's still covered in potato.